Welcome to the Action Network studio in New York City. I'm Maria Marino, and this is Green Dot Daily. We're live every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action app. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Today on the show, a few NBA stars have been hit with injuries. J Money and Bryan Fonseca will react and share picks for tonight's games. But we're getting antsy for Wild Card Weekend, so we're going to start with the NFL. The Titans have fired head coach Mike Vrabel. After his arrival in 2018, the team had 4 straight winning seasons, but have finished under 500 in each of the last 2. Still, Vrabel was the most profitable head coach straight up as an underdog in his time, the 2021 NFL Coach of the Year. As we say hello to Chad Millman and Simon Hunter. I know you guys are sorry to hear this as the Titans made you guys some money over the weekend. But Simon, what's your initial reaction to this news?
Where Mike goes, I go. Wherever Vrabel's going to end up, I feel like me and Chad are going to be right there with him. So not a big deal to me. I mean, thank you for the memories. Great times. He'll get a head coaching job, though. I think it's an ego thing, right? It's him and the GM are kind of butting egos. And I think Vrabel wants more control, and he's leaving. He's going to go try to find it somewhere else where he's hoping a team will actually appreciate him rather than the Titans, which right now they're banking on the GM. They're saying the GM's the reason. They were the 1 seed a couple years ago. The GM's the reason they're backing this team is he drafted Levis, and apparently Vrabel wasn't a huge fan of that pick, and now he's leaving. So if Vrabel believed in Levis, I guarantee he would stay in Tennessee, right? You don't want to leave a quarterback you believe in. So pretty interesting move that he's willing to leave that team and all that history he's built with that team to go somewhere else. And I know Chad's got an opinion on where he might be going.
Yeah, well, Chad, where do you see?
Well, look, before that, we're going to pour one out for Vrabel in Tennessee because he has been a spot-on moneymaker for us for the entirety of Simon and my history together, backing Vrabel as a dog, backing Vrabel as a dog at home, backing Vrabel straight up as a dog wherever he goes. I don't know what the Titans are thinking here. I don't know how they believe they can find someone who's going to be better. You just watched the press conference this guy did before they ended the Jags season, talking about how much he hates losing. If you go back to think about how he coached against the Patriots in Tom Brady's last game as a New England Patriot, the way he managed the clock, the way he used the rules, the way he ran the clock down to not give the Patriots a chance to win that game. He was a brilliant football coach, never with an all-star cast. Remember, he got a #1 seed with Ryan Tannehill, right? He made Ryan Tannehill into somebody that people talked about as a elite-esque quarterback. So good luck to Mike Vrabel when he becomes the next coach of the New England Patriots. Simon and I will be betting on him consistently.
Aha, that's what we were waiting for. We shall see. Should be very interesting. All right, let's move to the playoff picture and preview some of the games this weekend. But here's what it's looking like. Kicking off Saturday at 4:30 Eastern with the 4-5 matchup in the AFC, Browns at Texans. Then the 3-6 matchup, Dolphins at Chiefs. Sunday, we get Steelers, Bills, Packers, Cowboys, and Rams, Lions. Eagles, Bucks on Monday. Both the Texans and Bucks are underdogs, despite having the higher seed and thus home field in their respective matchups. So we want to talk about a couple of the games with arguably the most intriguing storylines, starting with Browns-Texans. You got the rookie phenom, CJ Stroud, the Renaissance man, Joe Flacco, Cleveland laying 2.5. Chad, which way do you go here?
Look, this has been a really tough game to think about. And I know that Simon and I debated on the favorites on Sunday night. I lean Texans here at +2.5. I can't stop thinking about how bad this Browns defense has been on the road and how good CJ Stroud has been at home. We're talking about a guy who at home, he's going to be rookie of the year. At home, 2,500 passing yards in 8 games, more than 300 yards passing per game, 9 yards per attempt, 17 touchdowns. and he's going against a Cleveland defense that was dreadful on the road. I know we like to talk about how good this defense is, but their average rushing yards gained is nearly 2 yards higher on the road. They gave up twice as many touchdown passes on the road, 3 yards more per pass attempt. In one fewer game on the road than they had at home, they gave up 112 more points. That's 8 games versus 9 games at home. They allowed 30 points per game on the road, 3-5 on the road. Something's not right about this defense when on the road and they're playing inside against a red hot, really good quarterback. I don't want to hear about how he's a rookie. I don't want to hear about it's a rookie head coach. This guy is not a rookie anymore. He's been playing like one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Going with CJ Stroud.
Wow, Chad laid it out there pretty fully, Simon. Is there anything you can add to this?
No, we're still on opposite sides. I like the Browns, but I haven't bet it yet. It keeps ringing in my head. I'm betting Joe Flacco is a road favorite, and it's a scary thought. So everything Chad just said is so true. The big thing is though is CJ. Chad just tried to glaze over it. He is a rookie, and he's going against Jim Schwartz, a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator. Like this guy knows how to scheme it up. He's going to know what to do against CJ. Like CJ does have weaknesses. You can go back and watch that Panthers tape when they played early in the season. Like there's things defenses can do that can really annoy CJ. Number one's taking away Nico Collins. So yeah, if you can take away Nico Collins, which is his go-to guy, if you can double him, we're going to see that's going to be real pressure on CJ in this game. But Chad just said it. This number's moved to +2.5. The value is technically on Houston. That's why I'm just having a tough time betting this one right now.
Fair enough. All right, let's talk about Sunday because it's the matchup that everyone was hoping for. How often do we get to see a revenge game on both sides? Matt Stafford going back to Detroit, his home for over a decade, and then Jared Goff facing his old team, the team that traded him. So Rams getting 3.5 on the road. Simon, what's your play?
I'm with the public. The public is all over this Rams team at +3.5, and I like the number. I'm with them. I don't really get why it moved to 3 and then it went back up to 3.5. So clearly some professional money's coming on Detroit, but the Rams here at this number, it just feels like it's too big for Detroit defense that can't stop offenses, right? We've seen them time and time again get backdoored by teams that they don't have an offense. Most of these teams that backdoor them didn't have an offense as good as this Rams team, and they don't have a guy like Stafford who's in complete control right now this season. So I bet a little different in the playoffs. I'm more comfortable betting with the public because it's such a small sample, and it's really a lot of the numbers you got throughout just because it's unique scenarios. So looking at this one, it's very chalky. I like the Rams. I like their path to the Super Bowl. So it all starts here. Got to take the Rams +3.5. I'm gonna throw a little on the money line.
Chad, you're nodding along. You with this?
Totally agree with what Simon is saying here. This game opened at 4. Simon and I were talking about it in the Favorites podcast on Sunday night. And as we were talking about it, the line was moving to 3.5. We slammed it on Sunday night at 3.5. The Rams offense has been amongst the best in throwing the ball 20 yards or more downfield this season. We've seen it with Matthew Stafford, seen it with Puka Nacua, seen it with Cooper Kupp. And then you throw in Kyren Williams, who ran for more than 1,000 yards. And when he came back from his injury later in the years, when this team really started to dominate and become a bit of a ball rolling downhill in terms of getting themselves into the playoffs and putting themselves in a good position. And that continued all through the end of the year against a defense that, look, they just gave up nearly 400 yards passing to Nick Mullins. And it's a good thing that Dan Campbell did keep his starters on the field and playing through the final minute, because they might have lost that game if he hadn't. So there's not a lot of confidence in what this Lions secondary specifically can do against the Rams.
And Sunday, of course, we have another live edition of the Favorites podcast in Hoboken, New Jersey. Can't wait for that. Before we let you guys go, real quick, Super Bowl winner, who would you take, Simon?
I'm just going best value. Last year was very boring, very chalky. It was both the 1 seeds. This year, I think we're gonna get a little craziness. I feel like we're due for a wild card team to make it. So my 2 favorite wild card teams, the Browns and the Rams, both are great value right now. The Rams, their path, I don't think it's as easy as the Browns' path, shockingly. I do think I'd rather go to play in Baltimore than go to play the 49ers. The 49ers are just a scary team. But the Rams have played them twice now. They know how to play against them, being from their division. Same goes with the Browns. They have a veteran quarterback. They know how to play the Ravens, a divisional foe. That's kind of I'm looking here, where it's like, okay, I want odds better than 30-1. I'll get that on the Rams and get 50-1 on the Browns. Like, you just want really good long shot odds at this point.
Chad?
All right, my Super Bowl finalists.
Ooh.
I would go with the Bills and the Niners, and I'm going to go with the Bills. I feel like
Oh.
look, we were having conversations before the Bills secured their playoff spot on Sunday that if they had to go into Sunday night and they lost, that it's very possible the team that in the second half of the year was the best team in the NFL did not make the playoffs. Now they not only made the playoffs, they won their division. So now they're going to be a team that at least gets a little bit of advantage in the first week. And I just think when this team gets going and they're getting so much better defensively, I like the Bills' chances.
I'm seeing Bills at plus 650 or so right now, so still decent value. Chad Millman, Simon Hunter, we always appreciate you joining us. Can't wait to see you live and in person this weekend in Hoboken.
Thank you.
To the NBA and some bad news on the injury front. Grizzlies announced Ja Morant will have season-ending surgery on a torn labrum in his right shoulder. Meanwhile, Tyrese Haliburton left last night's win over the Celtics with a left hamstring injury. An MRI today showed a grade 1 strain. And Cade Cunningham suffered a left knee strain. On Sunday, he'll be reevaluated in 7 to 10 days. As we welcome in Jay Money, such a bummer with these injuries, but let's talk about Haliburton. He will be evaluated again in 2 weeks, so it could have been worse. But 5 teams in the East right now, seeds 4 through 8, have the exact same records, including the Pacers. How does this injury affect the futures market?
Yeah, it affects it a lot. I can't say it could have been a lot worse, Maria, because if Halliburton was out, like say for the rest of the year, like Ja Morant, it would have been absolutely horrible for the Pacers. So just being 2 or 3 weeks is actually not too bad. But he's the best player on the team by far. They're really gonna miss Tyrese Haliburton. But betting angle that I would look in this one, I'd definitely be looking towards the Cavs plus 600 to possibly win their division. In my opinion, I believe it was out of them and the Pacers. I know that the Bucks have the lead right now, but this team is nowhere near as good as their record. As you can see, I mean, they were down by 33 points in the first half to the Utah Jazz at home as well, and that's even coming off of a loss. So the Bucks are coming back down to earth fast. The Cavs are actually staying above water without Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, which means they'll get them back at some point. I think the Cavs plus 600 has a ton of value to win their division.
And Pacers with a hand in helping the Bucks come back down to earth. But by the way, Cavs are currently number 7 in the East. As for tonight, 5 games in the association. What's your best bet on the slate?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a tough slate, but I did end up going with the Minnesota Timberwolves minus 4.5. Still like them at the 5 as well. They're coming off a game that they should have won versus the Dallas Mavs. So you know me, I love betting on the teams that are in bounce back mode and that are pissed off. They're 8-1 straight up after a loss so far this season as well. And with this one, just basically need to win by a few possessions. I'll rock with the Minnesota Timberwolves here in a bounce back situation versus the Orlando Magic coming off an overtime win.
Yes, we want to see some pissed off T-Wolves, some highly motivated T-Wolves. Magic, meanwhile, coming off 2 straight wins, so maybe they'll come back down to earth. And the T-Wolves are still clinging to the top spot in the West, a game ahead of the Thunder. Jay Money, thanks so much.
Anytime, Maria.
Hey everybody, it's Joe Dellera, and I've got a couple of my favorite plays for this Tuesday NBA slate. The first pick that we're looking at is in the New York Knicks versus the Portland Trailblazers game, and we're going to be taking Julius Randle over 28.5 points. Randle's really benefited from the OG Anunoby trade, which shipped RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley to the Raptors. And over these last 4 games, Randle is averaging 30.3 points, 7.3 rebounds, and 3.5 assists, and his usage has seen about a 3% uptick to about 33%. One of the big improvements for Randle over the course of this entire season, though, is the change in his shot profile. So I don't think we're going to be seeing him in the three-point contest this year, but that's probably a good thing because he's attacking the rim and not falling back on that three-point shot, and he's really using his strength to his advantage. When we look at this matchup against Portland, Portland is allowing the second highest percentage of shots at the rim, and their opponents are shooting a league best 71.6% at the rim. They've been dominated on the interior. This line, it's a little bit high for what we traditionally see from Julius Randle, but I'm still comfortable backing him here for a near 30-point game. This is a number he's cleared in 3 of 4 games, and the one miss was in a matchup against one of the league's best interior defenders in Joel Embiid. I'll grab Randle to exceed 28.5 points, and I'm comfortable at 30 plus at plus 105 as well. For my second play, we're turning to the Detroit Pistons. And the Pistons, they're going to be without Cade Cunningham for a bit due to his knee injury. So the player that I'm deciding to target is Killian Hayes, and we'll be taking him over 8.5 rebounds plus assists. The big thing here is that Hayes should see expanded run without Cade, and this matchup against the Kings should provide a fast-paced environment. Last season, Hayes saw his stats increase to 11.5 points, 3.1 rebounds, and 6.8 assists per game. And in this last game against the Nuggets, when Cade went down after just 11 minutes, Hayes recorded a stat line of 2 points, 2 boards, and 6 assists. So it's not a lot to write home about, but Denver's defense is much better than the Kings, and Denver plays at the second slowest pace in the league compared to the 11th fastest for Sacramento. I project Hayes around 10.1 or so in terms of his rebounds and assists. So I think that his floor in terms of minutes is relatively safe. And even in a blowout, I'll take him to secure some counting stats in an expanded role. So I'll take Killian Hayes to go over 8.5 rebounds plus assists. So to recap, my 2 favorite plays for today's Tuesday NBA slate are Julius Randle over 28.5 points and Killian Hayes over 8.5 rebounds plus assists. Best of luck on your wagers today and enjoy the rest of your Tuesdays.
Keeping it in the NBA as Bryan Fonseca joins me in studio now. Let's talk about the season-ending injury to Ja Morant. Again, total bummer. Grizzlies out of the playoff picture. Could have made a push with Ja, but that seems unlikely now.
Yeah.
What will be the fallout from this?
Well, it should make the Memphis Grizzlies sellers now that Ja Morant is going to be out for the season. We'll see what that actually happens, whether or not that actually happens. So you have Marcus Smart, who has 3 years left on his deal. He's somebody that I would particularly look at if I were a contender. The contract is a lot to stomach, but it's about $20 million next year. It's about $19 this year for the remainder of this year. Then you have $21.5 the year after, and Luke Kennard is probably another one I think can get interest because he's making $14.7 million this year and also has a team option next year. So he's somebody who's going to be under team control, and I think that contenders should look at the Memphis Grizzlies because the Memphis Grizzlies should be sellers around, of course, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. I don't think any of those 3 are going anywhere, but I think you got to look at some of the other supplemental parts that they have and whether or not that could shape the NBA title race, Marcus Smart in particular.
Is there anywhere you could see Smart landing?
We just had a meeting. I'm probably going to leave one of the teams we mentioned to
You'll have to read about it on Action Network.
Yeah. Someone else will have to come up with that one. But there are a few teams I think that are contenders that should be looking for a defensive-minded guard who obviously, won controversially Defensive Player of the Year a couple seasons ago and, has struggled this year. But I don't think he's going to cost a ton because we saw what happened in the summer. And I would like to see if he winds up on a very good team because he does have playoff experience. He can energize a locker room. He can energize a team. We saw that in Boston for several years. Didn't get to see it in Memphis. I thought it could have worked, but now I think they should be looking to part ways with him. We don't know what Memphis actually thinks. Sure. Memphis could turn around and say, hey, we're actually going to move forward with Marcus Smart, run this back next year, and do a minimal amount of trading. So we'll see.
And Smart and Kennard have both missed a bunch of games this season. Smart has only played 19 out of 36. Yeah. Kennard has only played 13 games. So I think the price could be, not as high as maybe it should be for some of those for other teams. Kennard, obviously a sharpshooter, could be valuable as well. Let's move on to the slate. What are you betting tonight?
So I took the under for the Sacramento Kings and the Detroit Pistons. Cade Cunningham is out, and this is the first game he's missed this season. I don't know how the Detroit Pistons are going to muster up enough offense here because you have somebody with the 14th highest usage in the NBA missing this game. These are some tremendous highlights, by the way. And then you have Jaden Ivey has the next highest usage on the team, 22. You're looking at Killian Hayes getting an increased role, and you're looking at some of the other parts of this team. I just don't know how they're going to muster up the offense against the Sacramento Kings, who's going to be in a bounce-back spot after getting smacked by the New Orleans Pelicans. So they're going to come out furious. And they do defend better on the road. It's something we talked about on Buckets, Matt Moore, J Money, and I. The Sacramento Kings are one of the 10 best defensive teams on the road this season. It's weird because they're not as good at home defensively, but I do like a slight under, though I would not play it below 240 where it's at now. I did get it at a little bit of a better number. It opened at about 243 and a half. 240 is probably where I'm capping it, and it goes below that, it's probably a stay away from me. It's
a shame that the Pistons have lost so much. They only have 3 wins on the season because Cade Cunningham has been balling out, averaging 23, 4, and 7.
Yeah.
But at least a couple weeks without him moving forward. Bryan Fonseca, thank you.
Anytime.
A reminder, we have a super exciting wild card weekend in store for you, and it's almost here. Sweat your bets with Chris Raybon, Sean Kerner, and Stuckey at our watch party on Saturday, January 13th, and on Sunday, come see another live edition of the Favorites podcast with Chad Millman and Simon Hunter. It's all taking place at the Shepherd and the Knucklehead in Hoboken, New Jersey. Click the links below or go to eventbrite.com and search the Favorites to RSVP. Also, any picks we give out here on this show, you can easily reference. Just follow Green Dot Daily in the Action app. We keep track so you don't have to. That's going to do it for Green Dot Daily. I'm Maria Marino. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow at 3 Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel and the Action app.